Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin. And today, you guys, you better buckle up. You better have your notes ready and you better be ready to learn. Today, we have a very special guest. If you guys have been on LinkedIn, know anything about medical device sales, you will know who our guest is today. We are lucky enough to have the senior manager of global downstream marketing of hips for Stryker, as well as a tenured rep, Mr. Johnny Caffaro.
What's up, man? Dude,
How's
super happy to be here. I mean, loved your podcast, and now I get to be a guy on the show. Man, all the worlds collide on this one.
Yeah, dude, I feel the exact same. I was just telling my buddy, it's crazy. I've been following you for over a year now, and it's just like how things kind of work to get linked up, and just seeing all the success you're having and all the fun ventures you're having on LinkedIn. And you're not only in medical device sales, you got style, you got all the extra stuff. And so just to getting to connect, it's just so much fun.
No, it's a blast, dude. I mean, I always thought, fashion's been dead in ortho for a really long time. And I mean, I see you got the swag going on. And so kindred spirits connect. But I mean, throwing out some Caffaro shoes out there just changed the ortho game on its head a little bit. So it's been a blast, bro.
I love it. And if you guys haven't seen the Caffaro shoes, please go check them out. If you're looking about getting some style for coming up for interviews or just going out, like I'm going to be getting a pair, especially when I'm going to all these events, because they are a talking piece, and everybody posts about them on LinkedIn and is well
Yeah.
known. So I love seeing that. But Johnny, I'm not going to talk too much, even though everybody knows I love to talk. I want this to be
Yeah.
about you, man. Can you kind of tell us, for the listeners who might not know who you are, just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, so everybody asks, I mean, how long have you been in the medical industry, right? And so my saying is I've been in my whole life, just because I've had 3 hip replacements already throughout my tenure of my life. I had braces on my legs like Forrest Gump from kindergarten to 3rd grade. And so orthopedics and joints and all this stuff has been around my life, my whole entire since I've been born. And so everyone says, how long have you been in the industry? I'm like, my whole life. And they just like get so confused. And because I mean, it's fun to say that. And so, but yeah, man, I've been in the industry for about 10 years, and I started off as a sales rep for Stryker. So I carried the bag. I was a trauma, full line, joint, drinking out of a fire hose. I mean, they do not prepare you as to what a medical rep is going to be like when you go in there. So I'm like, I lived in Utah, moved to Washington State, was super stoked. Like, yeah, this is great. Stryker got the best company. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like, okay, go to the hospital, reset hundreds of trays, like be in so many surgeries. And then like, listen, I was a cocky ex-athlete that like thought he knew it all. And so I'm like, I got this with my senior rep. And so one day, like my senior rep was like, hey bro, I'm not coming on Friday. He's like, you got to cover those 6 knees by yourself. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like, what? And so I'm like, I got super humbled by that experience. And that moment there really catapulted my career, because it made me become humble and be able to say, hey, listen, I don't know everything, and I'm not going to be this cocky person. Like, medical is so different than sports, or you can like fake it till you make it. You can't do that in medical, man. I mean, you know better than anyone. If a surgeon asks you a question, you better not give them an answer that's not true, or you're done. And so, man, it's been a blast. And so I covered the bag for a couple of years, and then I looked into the industry, and I was just like kind of like wondering, because I'm like, this can't be it. Like selling and like just being a rep, like I want more. I want to be able to have more experiences. And so I looked a lot about the leaderships in the industry, like a lot of VPs and executives. They had a lot of dual experiences, like R&D or marketing or sales or engineering. So I'm like, looks like I need to get some marketing experience. And so I reached out to a company that was hiring for a hip product manager. It's crazy how all I've done is hips, because like my own hip situation, it's just been amazing. And I do know knees, everybody, don't worry. I know about knees and shoulders and trauma, but I'm a really good expert in hips. And so I reached out and became the hip product manager there for a couple years. And then I'm like stagnant again. So I'm like, what can I do to keep growing? And so there was this company based out of Taiwan called United Orthopedics, and they're a global company, and they had a lot more reach. And so I was there for 4.5 years. So for the first 2 years, I was a global product manager. And then the last 2 years, I was the director of sales for the whole West Coast. and I grew the territory double digits year over year. So I was stoked and I loved the experience. And then recently I just came on at Stryker as the senior manager, like you said, for global downstream hips. So anything hip related, collateral marketing came from me and my team. And dude, it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, full circle. I mean, I have a Stryker hip in me. I started off at Stryker, now marketing hips at Stryker. I mean, that's a little bit about me, man. I mean, I love medical more than anything, just because it really relates to me just because of my own hips. And I think a lot of people get into the medical field because of that. But I feel like I stay for it because I know how much I'm helping other patients, because I've been a patient, I've sold it, and I've marketed it. I wouldn't put anything that's in my hip that I wouldn't sell out to anybody. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's huge, man. And I appreciate you going into detail for everybody out there. And what couple things I wanted to touch on is number one, living that trauma life, man. That's no joke. And I can say here, I'm not strong enough to live that life. And, people have heard my thoughts on if I would do trauma. I was like, you could offer me $1 million. I'd probably say
No.
no. Cause I like to sleep and work out and actually
Yeah.
have somewhat of a
A
life.
life.
Yeah.
Dude,
And
like they didn't even warn me what I was doing as a trauma rep. They're like, yo, you got full line. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm a full line rep. What does that mean? It means you're not sleeping. You're not living a life. You have to drive 2 cars everywhere you go. If you're at a party, you got to leave. Like your life is flipped upside down. But that's where it was cool, because a lot of my like relationships were built with trauma surgeons, and like
yep.
2 o'clock in the morning and all these different like experiences, or like going to get breakfast at 5 o'clock in the morning, just going back. And I mean, you have to be able to have that experience in a sense. Like if you're going to be in orthopedics or something like that, trauma is a beautiful way to be able to make sure you build those relationships. And I know a lot of people think like, a lot of people have asked me in the past, like, what can I do to gain more sales, or what can I do to get better relationships? Like what I did honestly is like, if I knew trauma was coming, I'd bird dog. I would just sit in the hospital and look at the cases that were coming, and I'd wait for a rep to mess up. Like, hey doc, I don't have that bipolar system there, but I can got you. I got you. I'm ready to go. I can set next man up.
Yep.
And I think that really helped me, because like I made friends with all the staff. I made friends with the OR scheduling nurse. I made friends with the doorman. I made friends with the janitors. Like people don't understand, like you don't need to make friends with the executives. Of course they're important, and I get that. But dude, one of an experiences, I was rolling up to a hospital for special surgeries in Manhattan, okay? And it's so hard to get parking in HSS. But I made best friends with the doorman. So I'd hurry and pull up. I'm like, bro, I'm late for a case. I'm gonna leave my car right here, bring up the trays. He's like, I got you. And then one time I locked my keys in the car. He's like, I got you. Like those are the important people that you need to know. That's
Yep.
gonna make make you go forward. Because then the nurses started calling me, Johnny, there's a case coming up. You should get here. We'll try to save it for you. Johnny, hey, there's this coming up. Do you have this ready? Hey, they just flipped this. And so that's where I built a lot of my relationships. And like, I guess I always tell people I was LinkedIn before LinkedIn even came around, because I loved connecting and I loved networking, and like
Yep.
that made my life and job easier.
Yeah, man, I just got chills while you said that, because it is so true to everyone who is listening. So many times, even when we're reaching out on LinkedIn, right? People are like, "Oh, I'm only going to reach out to the regional sales manager. Oh, I'm going to only reach out to the territory manager." What about the associate sales rep? What about the person who used to work in it? What about the person in marketing? What about, you don't know who knows, and this world is so small. But to even your point of, I just want to touch on number one, trauma. You just, it made you learn and respect
Yep.
what you were in, and you, because of that, you could go anywhere from that and be awesome. And that's, I want to say that to people are like, no, I would never do trauma. But if you're really wanting to come into this industry and crush it and actually learn it, and this is what you want to do as a career, trauma is a great way to learn it. But also, like you said, when you're in the hospital with people at 2 a.m., that's when you really get to know somebody. That's when you really
Yes.
get to do it. Now, I will say this: was I ever with the hospital at 2 a.m.? No, but I was there at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and it's a
Yeah.
different vibe than when it's at 9 a.m. in the morning, right? Everyone's
Oh,
running, and you're
100%.
be able to have those conversations. I did it with SPD, and to your point, right? SPD was a huge part for me, and they got me into
Yep.
conversations I never even thought of. And so, to you guys, just hearing, when we talk about networking, getting to know each other, it's not just your doctors, it's not just the executive people, it's
Mm-mm.
literally everyone because you just heard Johnny was successful because he had all the other pieces of doormen, even nurses being like, "Hey, there's cases coming up and I think you would profit or I think you could get this and it would work for you." And they're calling him to let him know. Nobody's else. And guess what? When Johnny's not there, guess who the nurse is talking to the doctor about? Guess what the scrub techs are saying?
Exactly.
Right. And it is, can you be in the room when you're not in the room? And that's what's going to lead to success. And so to everybody, how do I make that successful when I'm trying to break into medical device sales? You got to do the same thing as that regional sales manager, is that doctor. How are you having everybody literally talk to them right now and having just a little piece? One of the people from the course literally is calling me right now. I'll call them back afterwards. They literally they literally just got on an initial phone call today. They did exactly what we're talking about. Talked to everybody on the team, had other people from the team reach out to this manager, and he got on the call and he's like, "How the heck have you done this? I've never had somebody reach out to as many people and bring you up to me while I was at this meeting." And now they have a third round interview tomorrow because he's like, "I've
Yeah.
never done this," but it's because of those connections. So I just wanted to drive that point home, guys, of like being able to make those connections and what Johnny did, and also just being willing to talk to everyone and just be a resource. And it's also Johnny wasn't doing it just to make money or like, hey, how this leverage. He's just a good person and was like, hey, I'm gonna be working with the doorman all the time. I want to actually get to know him and see what
Yeah.
makes him tick.
Dude, I knew his kids. I knew what sports they were in. I knew what their likes, the hobbies, and what I also here's another big point, guys. What I really helped me create a persona, create somebody that they'll never forget.
Yep.
Like, make sure that you're so memorable that like they'll always like you. Second you walk in, they instantly get excited. So my persona, I'm Johnny. I live in Utah. I combine it. I'm Johnny Utah from the movie Point Break, and everyone's like, "Oh, we love that movie. That's such a good movie." Now they'll always remember me, maybe Johnny Utah, but eventually they'll know it's just Johnny. But like instantly, you're creating rapport. First off, everyone's probably seen Point Break, and if you haven't, then you guys got to go see it because it's a great cheesy movie, but it's fun. But then I have a persona now. Johnny Utah is always going to be in that hospital. And bro, I've been over to thousands of hospitals across the U.S. And I promise you, if I walk into a hospital, maybe it's my height, maybe because I'm 6'6", I don't know, but Johnny Utah gets yelled out every time, at least once. Johnny Utah's back.
See, I love that. For myself at under 6 foot, we have to get a little creative with it. I don't like to admit that on air. Everyone thinks I'm taller than I am. But no, it's such a good point, man. Of like, again, the thing I just want to say, and you guys can feel it in this interview, just the good energy, right? Like that's the thing I just talk about is like when we talk with Johnny, you can feel that. Hey, man, Johnny's excited. Johnny's actually passionate about what he does. He's whatever he's talking about. I just want to listen to him, and that goes such a far way when you're in a room because like I said, I try not to be the sales rep. I just wanted to get to know these people. But then guess what? I have a cute dog. I'm gonna bring up my dog. Guess what? Nobody cared about me when I'd walk in. Every time they'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Jacob, how's your dog?" Right? Like just little things like that can you bring in to make them care about you and bring stuff up? That's the point I want to talk about. So, man, that's so valuable, and I hope you guys are all listening and taking those notes. But I want to go from okay, so you went from being a rep, and then you're like, hey, let's go to United, and then you went not only to a rep, then you went to director and ran the whole West, but then you went to senior. The thing you mentioned, and I want to touch on, is you were being a rep, but you didn't just say, "This is my life." You were
Yeah.
looking at what else can I do to get better, and that's the one thing I really want to touch on. And I would love for you to touch on because I have so many people even reach out to me. Next week I'll be celebrating 2 years, and
Dude,
the
that's awesome, man.
conversation is
Congrats. It's
thanks,
huge.
man. I
I
appreciate
can't wait
that.
till you hit 10.
Hey, it's gonna be a little. I'll get a little more grays in here, but the reason
Hey
I say
man,
that is
that's why I always got haircuts. No one knows I'm graying.
hey, now you know why I'm about to get one tomorrow. Next week, I just let it grow out a little longer for my brother's wedding. But the reason I'm saying that is when you're trying to make a difference and you're trying to come in, like again, I only have 2 years experience, but during that time, it's like I'm just going to try to get better every single day. And where do I want to take this? And I never came in and said I'm just going to be a rep for 12 years. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do,
No.
there's nothing wrong with it. But it's always that self-improvement. Where can I go? What can I do? And just working as hard as I can to get that. So I want to just talk to you as someone who's under 10 years. And again, guys, I want you guys to hear this. Like Johnny's not even 35 yet. And he was a senior global marketing manager And most of those people in those roles at those big companies are 50 plus, right? 40,
Yep.
50 plus. And
Yeah. There's
so
no one my age.
exactly. So I just wanted, like, being the age you were and having the success, like, what drove you, especially right when you got in, to be like, hey, this is great, but what's next for me?
Yeah, so I mean, I always saw a disconnect in a lot of different things. And so when I was a sales associate or a sales rep, like marketing would come out and like we'd be scared to death when marketing would come out, be like, oh man, what's this guy gonna say to our doc? Is he gonna ruin the situation?
Mm.
Or like, is he gonna walk into the sterile field and like mess something up? Like you never know. And marketing has a lot of power. Like people don't understand, like they're the key decision making of like new products coming out, how the launches are coming, like collateral. Like you need to be good friends with marketing, but like at the same time, like they're not like marketing people are, if true marketing, they don't relate with sales. And so I always thought sales and marketing go hand in hand. Like the tip of the spear is marketing, and then sales drives it home. Because if they're not hand in hand, that spear is not going through anything, right? And so I started looking at, I'm like, you know what? I want to get some marketing experience because then I can be able to relate back to the field. Hey, listen, I know what you're going through. I've been in that. I've been in the dog fight. I've been in all that. Let me help you. Let me show you what I can do because I've been a sales rep, now in marketing. And then for me to go back into sales from marketing the first time, my head was just exploded because I was that much more dangerous
Yep.
because I knew how to speak as a marketer, right? And then I knew how to be able to handle projects and speak to the surgeons in different ways. Because as a sales rep, when a doctor says, hey, I want to be a royalty surgeon, like, yeah, doc, I got you, blah, 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 like, let's do it. And then like you get his hopes up and then the situation like just goes sour. But like with marketing, you learn how to speak, you learn how to get better, like adequate, like you're doing different speaking engagements. You're not just being a rep. So I wanted to get more polish within our industry. And I was always thinking like, man, surgeons are just dialed. They have such great speaking, they're composed, but that's what they've learned throughout the years. Like if you stay a rep and like you just said, no knock onto it, that's great. Like I didn't have the aspirations of just being a rep, carrying 50-pound totes, trays, great, amazing money, loved the money, but like I wanted more. And like I wanted to be able to like have a bigger impact on the medical community. And I was only having an impact on a little bitty little territory that I was at. And so I'm
Yep.
like, I want a big expansion. And so I always just put it out there like, I want more, I want to expand, I want more. Like, and these challenges would come in. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm not ready for that, I'm going to wait to do it. I wasn't ready for it, but I still took it and I learned how to do it. Right. That's where a lot of people make mistakes is like, I'm going to wait for that moment to become ready. Like, dude, I'm 33 and I'm managing the world of hips, like for Stryker. And like, I wasn't ready, but did I take it? Yes.
Come on, man. I just get, yeah, I just want to like go hard because I'm the exact same way, man, for the fact of like, people said this all the time. I actually had so many people when I was going for the full line sales rep role at Medtronic. They're like, hey, Jacob, don't take it. Go be an associate because if you want this to be your career, right, you need to start at the bottom. And I respect those decisions and I respected those people. But at the same point, I'm like, sink or swim, baby. Guess what?
Yep.
You're going to either figure it out and exactly what you're doing. And when we talk about like even entrepreneurship, like I talked to a lot of
Oh yeah.
entrepreneurs and I love that. Most people are going to like sit to wait till it's perfect. And guess what? It's never going to be perfect. So you're never going to actually be ready. It's more you jump in and guess what? It's going to be the fire hose that we talked about, but that's what's going to actually grow you and make you better because you're going to learn, you're going to have to figure it out. You don't have an option. And to your point though, that's why you've had so much success so quick is because you were willing to be like, I don't care what comes my way. I believe in myself and I know it might take an extreme amount of
Yep.
work, but I'm going to figure it out compared to I have people even call me now. Oh, I don't know if I could ever be a full line sales rep right away. I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know if you should do this industry. But
Exactly.
and I say that because I'm
100%.
like, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but the fact that you have that little confidence in yourself to figure it out, like what are you gonna do as you know, when a doctor gets pissed and throws something at you and calls you the worst names in the book because you messed up, like you got to have a little chip on your shoulder and be
You
like,
have to.
I'm gonna figure it out because you otherwise you will just get eaten up. And I say this all the time to people. You might still break into the medical device sales. I'm not saying that. But if you don't have that at least a little bit, you're not going to be winning. You're going to be on
No.
the bottom, right? And like that's what we talk about is like I don't do anything, you don't do anything to be at the bottom. We do it to be at the top. And if we're not at the top, we're
Always.
pissed and trying to figure out how to get to that top.
Exactly.
And so
I
that's why
mean,
I
my
wanted to
biggest
touch
thing
on.
is like No, it's huge because if you like, listen, there's a surgeon that made my life miserable every Friday. Okay. And I would get swollen gums because I was getting so stressed all the time. And I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm not letting him dictate how I'm going to live my life. So I figured out a way to like make friends with him in a way or work with him. I don't need to make friends with him, but I just needed to work with him where it's like a symbiotic relationship where I'm not stressed out of my mind that he's going to throw something at me, say something. But like you start building that confidence. Like once you have that confidence and like what you're doing, then like it's just gonna roll off your back, like whatever he says or does. But like you have to have confidence because if you don't have the confidence in yourself, then you're not gonna do well. The patient's not gonna do well. The doctors, it's all gonna go right. The scrub tech's not gonna have confidence in you. Then every Friday is gonna be miserable, right?
Yep.
And so that's the biggest thing is like you have to make sure you have that chip on your shoulder to always be better. And that's how I've been able to like move and progress my career so rapidly because I wanted to get to different places quicker than most. And people are like, well, you're not supposed to get a promotion until 2.5 years. I'm like, screw that. I'll create my own promotion. Like
Bam, come on.
I will create what it is because I'm doing the work that needs to do that stuff. You know what I mean? So that's the cool thing is I'm creating what I want instead of people telling me what I can do.
100%. And here's the thing. If you would have just stayed at Stryker, and I want to just touch on this because I think it's really
Yeah.
important for the fact of like I hear this all the time when I was at Medtronic at the top. No, you got to spend 5 years and you got to do this. Okay, maybe you do, right? Like, and
Yeah.
nothing, no knocks against you, but maybe you do because like you showed it. You could go work at another company, go crush it for them, and guess what? You just got called back by Stryker, and now you're
Yep.
there in a shorter amount of time than if you might have just stayed at Stryker the whole time. And so like that's where people don't get creative. But I do want to just state that point that you just said. I've had actually several calls this week with reps that have broken in, and now they're like, the common thing I hear is my manager is not the nicest to me. Some doctors are mean to me. This is tough. And I'm like, well, what'd you expect? You're an associate sales rep. Like I told you, it's going to be eating it for a second. And the reason I'm just saying that is exactly what you did is what I've told him is like, you might not like them and they might hate you. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, this isn't forever. This might be,
Nope.
if you're an associate, it's a year and a half, 2 years. You need to figure out how to make it work because guess what?
Yes.
It's no different than when you're your own sales rep or you're your own manager. We're always going to face people in life that we don't really enjoy. And that's just life, right? Hopefully you can
Yep.
get to a point where you can just deal with
You
people
just
you
don't
only
care.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
But there are going to be that, especially in medical device sales. Normally, there's going to be accounts, surgeons, scrub techs, nurses, whatever the above, that there's going to be people who just don't like you. And guess what? You can either sit there and play the victim and it's never going to work out, or you can be like, all right, this person sucks. Let's find out how we can make a middle ground so it just doesn't suck all the time. Maybe I can
Yeah.
just get through it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing is it's like, like if you want to, guys, if you want to get into the medical field, know if you do get in, your first 18 months is going to suck flat out. Like you're going to have fun. Don't get me wrong. I had a blast and like I made myself have a blast and I created lifelong friendships in those 18 months because I lived at the hospitals and
Yep.
like I slept in the cots in the freaking doctors' rooms and like I had so much fun. But like, was it probably the hardest time of my life? Yes, it was 100%. And I will tell you straight up, but it was the most rewarding because it taught me work ethic, it taught me perseverance, it taught me hard work, it taught me so much that I probably wouldn't have done in a 9 to 5 desk job that like clicking at computers and selling software as a solution. Like that's not me. Like I want to be in the field. I want to get going. And that's how I got into the medical field. Like I have the craziest story is that like my own hips and I started interviewing with Stryker and then it just died off. I took the gallop and then they didn't call me back. And then I figured out that one of the hiring managers was going to be in California. So I like pack up my car and I'm like, let's go. We're going down there and like see if we can get an interview. And I sat there for 2 days at my ex-in-laws house and they're like, hey, like, are you sure he's going to call? I'm like, no, I have no idea if he's going to call, but like, I'm determined, even if he's here, I'm closer than where I was. And so he calls me. He's like, hey, bro, like, would love for you to come down on the beach. Let's hang out. He's like, come in shorts, tank top, like flip flops. Let's hang out. I showed up in a suit and tie, and I showed him that like you only get one chance to make a first impression. He's like, you drove down here just to meet with me? I was like, yeah. I was like, I went crazy ex-stalker relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I did it. Like,
We all know those
and
people.
we've all had them. We get it. But like, the thing is, like, that shows the chip on my shoulder. I would do whatever it took to get that job. And he saw that, and he knows that I'm not going to take crap from surgeons from anybody in the industry, because he saw what I would do to get the job. And
Yep.
like, that's what you need to have in this job. You have to have that fire. You have to have that want, that desire, because once you get past 18 months, yeah, it still gets hard, but it's so much more fun.
I love it. And well, this is the one thing I want to just say real quick is people look at hard and they think it's supposed to be negative. Hard work is part of success. Like that's the
Exactly.
thing is like we live in a place where people are like, it's hard. Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to be hard. Like you want to make 500,000, you want to make a couple hundred grand. That's the top 10% of Americans. You're gonna
Yep.
have to do things that other people don't do. And that's the thing I just want you guys to hear is like the number one thing is that belief in Johnny. He drove to California not knowing just to be like, hey, maybe this guy calls me. Let me tell you who did that and would do that. Zero. None of you guys would do that. And that's why he was successful. That's why he's had the success he's had at such a young age. Because you guys, when I say, I literally just did a podcast about this the other week, Johnny, about burn the freaking boats, man. Like when you're
Yeah.
ready to go for it and you're like, hey, I will be successful. And it's funny that you say the beach with this manager because one of the speeches that changed my life was Eric Thomas. And he's like,
Oh yeah.
I
If you
go
want to
out
be
on the beach at
successful,
4
then
a.m.
you're going to go down to the beach.
You know it, baby.
He's holding myself down. You're holding yourself down.
You literally, that's
You
your
want to be
story. You showed
successful
up
as
in
bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
you showed up in a suit and tie. He's like, I thought I was going to learn how to make money. This guy wanted me
Yeah.
to swim, right?
I
Like
love that.
literally that story. But that's what I'm just telling you guys is this is the thing is I want you to see success. Like every person you hear on this podcast that crushes it, and I mean don't just get in. That doesn't just break into the industry. I mean gets in and makes an impact and is known from LinkedIn, known in this area. It's because they believe in themselves, but they're willing to do whatever it takes to be successful, and also just a good person. Like that, you can tell, right? You like to talk to people, you like to do everything. It's
Yeah.
just be a good
Yeah.
human being. Like that goes such a far way. But yeah, and Johnny, I wish we're gonna have you back on for sure because this is
I
this
love
is
it,
going
man.
on, and then we could do part 3. We could go for hours. But the one thing I want to make sure because this has been so helpful for everybody, but I already know this is what they do, right? We're gonna have listeners listen and reach out to you, and guys, I'm just gonna make. I know I say every guest is very busy and might not be able to get. I can guarantee you, Johnny is very busy, and there's probably a good chance that he won't be able to get back to you. Again, reach out, but like,
No, yeah.
uh,
I'll
but
try.
yeah, exactly. But I want this to be very known. We were talking off air. Lots of messages every single week, every single month, and hundreds, right? So again,
Yeah.
not that it's not that we don't like you. It's that there are lots of messages. But I already know. Hey, Johnny, can you let me know what would you say to me whether I have sales experience or I don't have sales experience? If I'm trying to break into medical device sales, what would your advice be to me?
Yeah, man, you just got to go after it. I mean, you got to show that you have the desire. I mean, it's the medical device sales is so different than any other sales. And so you have to have that want, that desire, and that you're going to stick with it because you have to have, like you said, over that chip on your shoulder because like that's what's going to drive you and that's what you're going to do. But like also, make sure that you want to do it because it's a very rewarding job too.
Yep.
You're helping patients. Like I was a patient, guys, and like I have a very, very deep connection to seeing somebody on that operating table because I mean, I saw it. And so like I want to do everything possible to make sure that that patient has a good, successful outcome. And if those are your key things and like you have a drive, you're hungry, but you also want to help, like I love helping more than anything. Jacob said it, like if you go on LinkedIn and you see over the last week, there's probably over 15, 20 people that posted pictures of me because I'm creating something new and look at everything that I've done along the way. I've made an impact. And if you want to make an impact, like show them how you're going to do it. Show them how you're going to make an impact. Show them that you have a care or want and be relatable. Okay. Find common ground with people and be able to get the situation through. And so I mean, man, there's so much more that I could say to what you need to do to get into medical sales or one piece of advice, but it's just go after it with every ounce and fiber of your body because that's what you're going to need to stay in it.
Yep, that is so good. And you guys, just re-listen to that last piece for the last 5 minutes and just replay it, because again, that's the talk we have. You guys, everyone wants the secret recipe, right? And if you guys have listened, we have over hundreds of episodes now. Like, you've heard the recipes, but it's networking, it's reaching out to these people, but it's also, you can't disguise passion. You can't fake passion. Like Johnny
Yep.
said, go out of everything. Like, drive to California, and he did everything. Now, this is what I'm saying. That doesn't mean you get in your car and drive to California, because you're probably not doing the right things to do that and to put yourself in the
To get to that
position.
point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you have to put in the work and you have to do it. But if you guys are willing to do whatever it takes and go for it, that's what's going to be successful. Because I literally just had a conversation with a person right before this podcast. And it's like, the people who tell me, I kind of want this, or, oh, if this doesn't work out, I'll go here. I tell them straight to their face, I'm like, you're going to lose. Because there's
Yep.
people like myself, I didn't care if it took 2 years of me messaging people every single day for 14 hours, reaching out to thousands of people, getting on phone call. I was going to break in. There was no other option for me. And if you're just, maybe it works out, you're going to lose every single time. And even with Johnny, that's how he's had so much success. Johnny didn't just get in and be like, hey, I'll be a rep. Let's see what happens, right? I'm going to make 150K and just chill, right? No, like, he took the next
No.
step. How do I get better? How do I go to the next section? And how do I keep getting my career? And this is why I just get so excited, and why we connect and why we can chop it up is like, if we would have listened to what everybody has told us to do at
Yep.
our age, we wouldn't be where we are.
No.
And so that's
100%. I mean, like, when we walked in, don't say anything, walk the line, keep your head down. Your promotion will come in 18 months. I'm like, promotion 18 months? What are you talking? Like, no, like, my head's way up. I'm talking to everybody. I'm figuring out the lay of the land. Like, I'm not listening to, I'm going to go off the own beat of my drum. And dude, and you're going to be honest with you guys, has it gotten me in trouble sometimes? Yes, it has, 100%. But look where I have gotten to be on the successful side of things. So there is a catch to it. Like, beating to your own drum will get you in trouble sometimes, but it's going to get you a lot further in the positive light.
all day. And I just want to say that because I want you guys to hear that. Most people think when we do all this stuff that it's just like praises, hey, high five. Like, if I could show you guys the amount of DMs that I got when I first started this to shut the F up, like, who the F am I, like, no experience to do any of what I'm doing. And like, still now I have, like, I just found
Oh,
out
for sure.
there was a conference, my name got brought up. I don't know any of these people. And it wasn't positive how they spoke of me. But again, it's like, if you worry about those people, and then the funny thing is those same people found out my position where I'm at now with Innovis as a regional sales manager. Those people have been reps for 6 years, and they're like, oh, he's already a regional. Oh, he's running the whole West.
Yeah.
Like, it switches. And so what I'm just saying, and like what Johnny's saying, is when we talk about that chip of the shoulder, you're going to do stuff again. Work hard, be a good person, but do the right thing. If you do the right
Yep.
thing, yes, you might step on some toes in some people, but if you can lay your head down at the end of the day and
Yep.
be like, I did the right thing and I'm pushing for a bigger goal, bigger than myself, and I know why I'm doing it, you're going to go so much farther than if you listen to this. And I want to just state this because I think it's the perfect time. And I've been saying this to a lot of people, but this line has been in my head nonstop since I went to England because I heard it. Eagles don't flock with pigeons. And I want to say that because there's a lot of pigeons in whatever industry or wherever you go in the world, and they all go peck each other and peck in the windows, fly into windows, and do whatever they want. And it's because it's what the crowd told them to do. But Eagles, the people that are trying to go farther, go faster, go bigger, go better, guess what? When Eagles don't want to be with the pigeons anymore, they just fly up. They go up, and
Yep.
guess what? Those pigeons can't get up there anymore. And so
Dude, I
I know that's a
love
really
that.
corny
Not
saying,
at
but
all.
I love that one because, again, when you're wanting to do something to make an impact in this world, you got to be willing to take some shots and go be an eagle instead of hanging out with the pigeons and getting yelled at and care what the pigeons say, because guess what? They're still picking seed off the ground while
Yep.
you're eating fish in Alaska.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's a corny way to end it, but Johnny, again, man, hey, real quick, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, Johnny Caffaro. We have CaffaroShoes.com. We have Caffaro Shoes on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, I mean, hit me up. I mean, you can also send me an email, but the easiest way is LinkedIn. And
Yep.
listen, I will try to get back to you. I mean, I have a lot of things cooking as I'm moving forward and trying to always better myself. And so I'm creating something. And so as you guys see what's going on in the last couple of weeks or going forward, like, I'm always trying to get better, right? And I want you guys to always understand, like, don't be complacent, right?
Yep.
Jacob just nailed it. I mean, eagles don't fly with pigeons. And so the pigeons are complacent because that's all they do. They've been told one thing after the other. Be an eagle. I mean, soar, spread those wings and fly. I mean, I love it. I mean, I think that's a great saying. I mean, people can think it's corny, but dude, I always wanted to be an eagle. Why not?
Yeah. I love it, man. Well, dude, Johnny, again, this will not be the last time we have you on. We will definitely
Appreciate
be
it, man.
bringing you back on. But again, just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your night to join us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me. It was a blast. Yeah, we got to do a couple more.
Yeah,
All
can't wait. Can't wait to have you
right,
guys. And
man.
if you guys are watching on YouTube, press that like and subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast, a 5-star review helps us grow this channel. If you guys are watching, you'll see I'm wearing I Broke In t-shirt. You guys can grab that on our website if you guys have broke in. If you guys have not, hopefully you will get one of those shirts soon. And then again, if you are looking how to break in, we do have the course New to Medical Device Sales. I want to let you know we're currently running an October special because I have been talking with several medical device companies. There is a push coming in. So want to get as many people and make as much difference as I can. So if you guys are interested, the link is in the description. But again, it will just be courses.newtomedicaldevicesales.com. If you guys are interested and want to go over any questions or ask about the course, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Jacob McLaughlin, or again, New to Medical Device Sales on TikTok, Instagram, all the above. And I'm happy to jump on a quick call, go over anything. But I appreciate you guys listening. And until next time, go after, make the dream you want, and go get your job in medical device sales. Peace.